Ohayou gozaimasu. Let's check this mic. Should really do this before we get started, right? Good morning, everyone. We okay? Oh, let me just close that door. We don't want anything falling down again. Okay. We're here. Good morning, everyone. Friday morning. It is pouring it down outside. Ohayou. Good morning, Chicken Meister. Cool to PB Exceltios. Duha Nyadha. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Early gang, early gang. Okay, today, what will we be doing? I finished a couple of days ago the block set for the Adolescento project. That would be the July print. July? Yeah, July print. So I finished that a couple of days ago, and that'll be waiting for test printing. The printing schedule is a little bit behind at the moment, and so probably be a little while before that's done. I'm not sure who's doing the test printing on that, to be honest, but hopefully everything's fine. There is a second key block there, so it's always a little bit like sketchy. Did I get these two blocks lined up correctly? If I didn't, or if there's a bad piece of wood, then we might need to make some extra blocks. But I think everything should be okay. It should print just nice. The feedback on the wood, it's better than the previous print, but the wood was really, it wasn't as good as I thought. When I started carving with my knife, I thought the wood was pretty good. But during the clean time, it was all the same fibrous issue I was having before, which isn't so fun. But we persevere. Hopefully. It'll be a little while before the wood that we turned into planks recently when we went to Kiba. It'll be a little while before that stuff is on blocks and ready to carve. So we're just working through the stuff that we found. I haven't got much of a preamble today. I haven't done much. I've just been at the house. I got a couple little updates and some stuff to show you, maybe a little bit later. But until then, because I have finished the Atelier Center work and I haven't been given a new print. I am going to work on the bonsai today because the actual work I'll be doing today is not very good for streaming. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let's get to the block. Welcome, welcome. So we're here, same place as we were on Tuesday evening. Okay, I'm just going to get started. Give me a second to get in the rhythm of things, and then we can talk a little bit. Where's my... Oh, wait. I'm a little bit sleepy today. I had a bit of a late night last night. I was working on the Sen Shafda for my Patreons. The design you saw me paste down here not too long ago. So I was working on that last night, and then I also had to pack the blocks up for the Adolescente print. I forgot that I hadn't done that, so I gave them a quick final check and then I packed them up last night. It's really convenient having someone who works in the office at Mokankan at my house. Unfortunately for her, she gets quite a few requests of me. And while she was on maternity leave, I noticed it was significantly less smooth, the communication with Mokankan and stuff. At that point when Ayana was on maternity leave, the streams were required listening for me to make sure that I'm abreast on all the goings on in Mokankan that don't directly relate with me. But now she's here, she's back, I can sort of just ask her to take some blocks for me. I don't give her big blocks, but these little Adolescente prints, they're not very heavy. A little bulky, but not very heavy. And since I was driving her to the station this morning because of the rain, it's not so bad for her to take. Good morning, good morning. Everyone's dripping in slowly. How are you all doing today? Happy Friday. Does anyone have any nice plans for the weekend? Is anyone going to be doing any printmaking this weekend? Mochiron, of course, of course. Ah, I saw your test print. It looks like it's coming along nicely. You'll be working on that this weekend, I take it. Roll file. Where's my print? Give me one second. Here. So this comes down here. So yeah, something I noticed that if I don't sleep too well, if I don't get a really decent sleep, then In the morning, my hands are a little bit shakier. My hands are pretty steady as like a general rule, but I feel that when I'm a little bit tired or worn down, then they get a little bit jittery. Maybe it's got something to do with like blood sugar levels or something. I finished that round and decided to go for a very focused test series to compare each block and the key lines for registration. So that first one was just to see if everything's lining up, or was that mostly to see the colours, how they're interacting? Well, I guess it was a bit of both, right? Are you doing that more focused round because you did discover some areas where maybe they're not lining up ideally? Sleep is important for many things, yes. Although it's a little bit tricky when you have a little kid. But he's been sleeping really well, actually. And generally, Ayano is the one that gets up. She tends to get up in the night more. We sort of built that habit when it was feeding, because she did breastfeeding. And then I do the sort of the morning stuff with him. We have a good system. Mostly for colours, but the pension. What is the pension? It's so blurry and hard to tell. I'm not sure what a pension is. Am I reading that wrong? Is a paper. I've never heard that word before. Oh, okay. It's not like a general word for a paper that, like, I'm just a little bit dim and never heard of. It's a name of a specific type of paper. Okay, I feel a little bit better now. Is it got a little bit of pulp in it? Is that why it's a little bit cheaper? I often use what's called Kikaimasa, and it's like 50% pulp, 50% mulberry, and I use that for doing test printing. Not test printing in the sense that like a professional printer would do test printing, but more just like what you were talking about earlier, checking the registration on the blocks, making sure everything lines up, and there's no areas that I forgot to clear away, those little bits. So maybe it's something similar to that. And I'd never do an addition in it. So you all saw, well, some of you will have seen the prints on David's stream. I have a new Shinhanga print that's now come to life. I'm very excited. We did the test printing back in, it was like December, late December. Or was it early January? I don't know. It was around there. And the blocks were finished much before that even, so it's been a long time just like waiting for printer time. Obviously there's a situation with the printers this year that we're really struggling. The whole of the Mokuhanga world is really struggling. And yeah, it's been sitting there and it finally got printed. That was actually the first time I've seen it off the block. Ayana's been taking the videos for the last section. I was going there to like go and take videos specific up. I got a lot of footage during the test printing, but Ayana was really helping me out. Again, more work for her at Mokuhanga. Yeah, she was taking a bunch of that video. I made a list of a bunch of areas on the print that I wanted to get filmed, and Ayumi-san and her sort of really collaborated and helped me out a ton, because it's an hour for me to get to Mokuhanga, and so that's 2 hours out of my day, and sometimes it's a little tricky to get footage because she'll be doing one colour in the morning and I want that, and then she'll be doing one colour in the afternoon and I also need that, and so it's like a half day or a whole day even sometimes if I want to be there, or it's just like 20 minutes of work for someone who's already there. So that was really helpful, and she took some nice footage. I always take pictures of all my blocks before printing them. So I wash the paper off, wash all this paper off here, and then I let them dry a little bit so I can take nice clear pictures of the blocks. But for some reason, maybe because the blocks are made in batches, I'm sure I took the pictures, but I couldn't find them anywhere. So it was a little bit frustrating. So I asked Diana yesterday to take me photographs of all the blocks so I could put them in the video. I am working on a new YouTube video. It's been far too long. I started working on this video a long time ago, and I thought this is going to be my next one out. And then I'll work on like my first print or whatever, the other ideas I have for videos. And yeah, it just sort of sat there for a long time. But I guess it will be ready in about a week. Anyone who's not familiar with what I'm talking about, I will show the print very shortly. Hang on a second, my Twitch isn't showing my actual stream. Okay, we're there. Yeah, we'll show the print a little bit later, and I'll explain some interesting stuff that I wasn't actually able to put in the video. It's mostly done. I was doing some audio recording for it yesterday. But I used to be using a lav mic, and it just connected straight to my phone, and then I sent from my phone to the computer. That was sort of the software I was using. It was it was Rode app on my phone, and it's like not the most professional thing, but it worked well for what I needed to do. But since I got this better mic for the streams, I can now improve the quality of the audio on my videos. The issue is it doesn't have its own recording software, so I downloaded, is it Audacity? Is that what it's called? Good morning, Citron. Welcome in. And I had a bunch of issues. I Because I have something on a full screen, I swipe across to go to the Audacity. I start it, then I flick over, and I'm looking at the video while I'm recording, like just doing some natural commentary. The first section of the video, it's kind of like scripted, and I'm doing a bit of a historical segment there, explaining a bit about the history of the print, why this print is interesting, why it's been chosen to do and stuff. And then the latter half is more like technical stuff, more about the construction of the blocks and the printing process. And that section I don't really script as much. I just sort of, maybe I'll have some ideas and some key points, but I will just watch the video in mute and then narrate a little bit over it. And I usually do like a couple takes. Yesterday I did like 4 takes because there was a mistake. There was something wrong each time. The first time I hadn't checked the audio levels and it was just like so loud. And even when I brought everything down, there was a lot of like static and background noise and stuff. I know you can take that out by like sampling, but I wanted to just get a nicer clean, and it was the first take anyway, and so it wasn't the best take. You know, you get better as you do them. That's why I always do a couple takes. And the second one, I'd done a section before that was just like I wanted to add a short word, and then I paused it, and then I did the next bit, and I didn't start the recording again, so I talked for like 40 minutes and then went to the recording section and I had 15 seconds. So that was frustrating. Then I took a little break, had a cup of tea, and I went back and I did the same thing all over again, if you can believe it. It's shocking behaviour. This is what always happens with my audio. I want to be more emotive and expressive and show a bit more personality when I'm talking. I feel like I'm a bit bland and monotone and But the main reason for that is because like I have to record the audio so many times. The first take will be like full of life, but there'll be a bunch of mistakes. The second take, I'm like, I've got a bit of life and it's a bit more correct. And the third one is like, it's factually accurate, but there's just no personality in it. I think if I had a teleprompter, it might be easier. It's kind of dry. Life plus mistakes equals life. Yeah, very good. So yeah, there's a video coming out. I'll try and arrange with Dave that the video can be released at the sort of similar time as the print's released, so I can link it in the thing. I think there's only like 50 copies of the print. Good morning, Walker. Carved the Buddha. Oh, Daibutsu print. Yeah, Daibutsu. What time are we on now? Should I show you the print? I don't have a copy of the actual print. I'll give it a little bit more time, and then because I think I should change my lens to show you guys this. Questions? Do you have to sharpen and replace your tools often? I don't have to replace them. The only thing I replace often is the blades. I go through these, the knife blades. I go through these a lot. I sharpen often, yeah, usually like once a day. If you're starting out, probably like 3 times a day, because the way you use a knife is a little bit rougher at the start, and when you get a little bit better, you learn to not put as much pressure on the knife, and it lasts actually a lot longer. Also, I'm using the premium steel. There's 2 types. There's one that's about 4,000 yen. I'm not sure what that is in dollars. And then the other one is like 6,000 yen, and it's a little bit better, and it tends to hold its edge a little better too. So nowadays I sharpen like once a day. The ice skis, they don't need to be sharpened as often, but mine are in sort of dire need for sharpening. When you're in the midst of projects and you have lots of them, it's sort of, because there's so many tools there, there's a lot of different ice skis, a lot of different bullnose chisels that you can use. If one's a little dull, you just tend to move to the other one that's like a couple of points of a millimetre shorter, narrower. And so slowly over time the whole set becomes dull, and then at that point you've really got to do it. There's a lot of them to sharpen, but actually I know a lot of people struggle with the sharpening of the ice ski, but actually it's not that bad. So yeah, we sharpen and maintain our tools a lot. Probably Taryn has been to Kamakura before. Yes, I have been to Kamakura, and in fact I'm going back there. I'm going there this weekend. I've arranged a trip that we will take our boy, and we will go to Kamakura probably on Sunday. It's pouring it down with rain today, and bringing the son along. Well, yeah, I'm not going to leave it for home. It was an unnecessary detail, but we'll bring him with us. It's his first trip to Kamakura. So we'll go there. It's raining today, and it's definitely going to be raining tomorrow. And Sunday is probably not going to be a nice day. But if I want to get this video out in good time, then I can't really wait another week. I want to do my intros and outros. I've got my sort of little pretentious bit at the end where I always do the little roundup and conclusion about the print or whatever I've learnt along the way. So I'll be doing that in Kamakura, and just like I did with the Misty Day Nico prints, I found the shrine there. This time it's a lot easier. I know exactly where the location is. So I'll be going there. Get some pictures, get some video, and then from there it's just sort of little touch-ups on the video, fixing some small little audio sections, adding a couple little supplementary pieces, and the video should be out. Vetch, good morning. Welcome. I see you using your fingers a lot to guide the blade. How often do your fingers get nicked? Any horror stories? I don't use my fingers to guide the blade at all. That's something you never do. What I do use my finger for is pushing off it. I use it like the rollock on a boat. You never want to push with this. That's a big no-no if you're carving in the way I carve. Lots of people who carve like this, you'll see them pushing the blade along or like that. But the for me, it all comes from the elbow and the wrist. There's like 4 major movements. The first movement is sort of from the elbow like this, and that's how you get the tight curves here. You move this first in the tight curves, and you get your arm out. You kind of want, ideal place to carve is that your wrist and arm are sort of parallel. You move your wrist like this, but we never go past the 90-degree point. So you're always moving your elbow to get things in that sort of macro movement. And then the main pulling force is usually coming from the elbow here, pulling it back. The wrist is doing that. And then the last movement is the very finest adjustments. I'll move my thumb like this to guide the blade. Never pushing off the fingers. I just use it as a support. It's a third leg. No worries. Was Kamakura easier to figure out the colour box compared to the Nico print? Like, yeah, night and day. The Nico print is... It's like... I think Hiroshi Yoshida is the peak of Shinhanga. And because he was so good, they really threw everything at it. They've got... The thing he does best is like... Well, it's him and the publishers and the printers and the carvers. The thing they do best is that they manage to just like add in subtle colours, and there's so much like... The palette is so good, and they use colours lightly in multiple passes that it makes it really difficult to see what's like its own block, what is a combination colour. And so that's really, really tricky. In the Kamakura print, it's much closer towards ukiyo-e. It's Shinhanga. It's got the Shinhanga vibe to it. And it's got some more overlayering than maybe ukiyo-e, but not that much more. It's still kind of colour by numbers. There are obviously sections that overlap, particularly on the Buddha. Let me show you the print. So in here, there's obviously lots of colours. There's at least 5 impressions to make this. Probably more. They would have been printed lightly, maybe a couple times, but there's at least 4 or 5 impressions here, and at least 2 blocks, minimum 2 blocks. So this was a bit tricky to see. This one's not so bad, but there's some copies where it looks like maybe there's a third block creating pattern, but because it's gradated and wiped off and there's so much mottling and gomazuri, it can be a little bit tricky to identify in places like this. Another place is like down here on the trees. Like how many blocks go into making this? It's a little bit tricky. There is definitely 2 blocks creating the ground. Is the block on the ground also creating the pattern on the tree? Is there subtle patterning here? Is this a carved block, or is it just wiping and gradating with lots of gomazuri, the mottling? There's a lot of decisions like that, but like all in all, like this is a light green, this is a pink, and they're bordered by lines, and it's not so bad. The video will explain all this stuff. There are areas where, like down here, where we get interactions, and it's a little bit difficult to see where the actual lines are, where the block was carved and where it was wiped. And it wasn't perfect, you know. There's like white gaps here, there's white gaps here. Obviously, those types of things I've fixed. I've touched them up and I've made everything a little bit tighter. So yeah, compared to Compared to the Nico print, this is trivial. Did Asuka Sensei correct some of your bad posture when carving or even on practice blocks? Bad posture? Are you saying I've got terrible posture? This is kind of the way that all carvers sit. You sort of have to get over the block. You want to have your carving sort of in the center of your body here. This is where you want to be carving. It might be better if I looked a little. If I do slouch a lot, but he didn't really correct my posture in that sense. What he did correct me in is the correct way of sitting. You don't actually want to be straight on. You want to be a little bit turned to the right if you're a right-handed carver, which all carvers were. Yeah, so you have that movement from the hips there, and you can use that to create smooth curves. Those tiny circles look hard to carve. Oh, on the practice blocks, tiny circles. Yeah, they're really good practice because they're so hard. And because they're mechanical, like you can easily see if you've nailed it or more often that you didn't nail it. Will I be reverse engineering another print like Nico? I'd like to. Yeah, we don't have any plans at the moment. There have been some suggestions. I have a print that I've been wanting to carve for a long time, and I won't post any pictures of it just in case someone else sees it and they get the idea to do it. But I've been wanting to do one print that is going to be really tricky to reverse engineer. The problem with that one, the reason it isn't getting done, is because it's so difficult to print. It's really, really difficult to print. So every now and again when I talk to Dave, like the situation I'm in now, I'm waiting for my next project from Atelicento. I'm guessing that won't be for another 2 weeks at least. So I need another project to work on in the meantime. Printing resources means that, like, even if I work on another print and I make it, that, like, it's going to be the same situation with Kamakura. It's going to be a long time before it actually gets printed. I helped fix the Okada Yoshio Surfer Girl print, and that's still waiting. So there's projects sort of waiting. I think John-san's working on an ukiyo-e reproduction, and that's waiting to be printed. I don't think he's finished that yet though. But not Lost Technique. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Did you finish the Surfer Girl? Lost Carving Technique. No, I understood the words. I just didn't know what you're referring to. Are you asking, are there any lost carving techniques? Have I... What, the carving the tiny circles is a lost carving technique. Sorry, I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Did you finish the Surfer Girl? Yeah, I finished it ages ago. He gave me the blocks. There were some adjustments that needed making and a few new blocks cut. I did that quite a while ago. It wasn't that big of a job. It was like finicky. What's the word in English? It was bothersome to do. It's like hard work. You've really got to focus and like have no distractions and just like really slow everything down and just like shave, test, shave. Did I do test prints? Well, I did just on my own paper here in black and grey. I tested to make sure everything lines up, and it's fine. Yeah, something like you discovered a long lost method to carve the way they used to carve and mimic the results. My tradition, the way I carve, is I'm the 10th generation learning in this particular school of carving. So it's kind of an old tradition. Asuka Sensei is the 9th generation carver in his lineage. And the knowledge of how to carve has been passed from teacher to apprentice. And so the methods I'm using to carve is pretty much the same. There have been like developments, but there's no real big lost carving techniques. Each carving, like each of the carvers, they had their own little secrets and ways of doing things. And so the way I hold my knife and like sharpen, not so much hold, but more so like sharpen the ends that I put on my bullnose chisels. They're like a little bit different from some of the other schools. And I guess Asuka Sensei's lineage is one of the oldest ones. Do I know the names? I have a list somewhere, yeah. It goes me, Asuka Sensei, and then his teacher was called Kikuta Kojiro. And then there are some others. There are like 7 others before him. I'm not sure of all their names, but I can get a list. Actually, in one of the books I have, maybe if you remind me, I can show you at the end. I can show you the lineage chart for all the current craftspeople working, both the printers and the carvers in Tokyo and Kyoto. I have a list. I came across the public. Maybe it's the one that we produced for the Kumiai Association's 40th year anniversary. That's the one I was going to show you. Oh, okay, an older lineage of carvers, all the way back to Hokusai and Hiroshige. If you do have that, look up for Kikuta Sensei and the people prior to him. And that is my lineage. Is it lineage when it's going backwards? Japan loves records, yeah. They like things like that. Documents are good. It's great for historians though. When we talk about like the skill the old carvers had, and like how were they able to do this? This is incredible. The work they were doing. We're not talking about the fact that we don't know how they did it. It's just they started really young and they carved, and that's all they did. And like they got really, really good, and their workshops were strict with them. They had to do things in really, really efficient way because the bosses weren't very generous with them. And that's not to say that all of the carvers were incredible. Like probably the majority of them weren't these people that we call wow, 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 look at this work. This is how did they do this? This is incredible. But the top people back then, the people that rise to the surface, they started really young. They had a really strict teacher. They had a strict work environment, and they got really, really good. And the wood was incredible. The paper was incredible. Just everything came together at that time to create these incredible craftsmen. The same thing is happening all over the world. You look back at like other crafts happening in Europe, and well, look at cathedrals, you know, and stuff like that. Just people worked at their trades, at their crafts, and they were really, really good at it. The same thing is happening here. It's not some lost insight into how things were done. It's more so it's just times have changed. But watch this channel here. We're going to get pretty damn close, you know. Long way to go, but it's coming. Dave tried out some Kyoto printing, but they had a different style that didn't suit him. The style in Kyoto is different. Like traditionally, they print with pigments that have gohun in them, which is a white pigment that creates a more opaque print. It's more like a Nihonga style of printmaking. But like the way they apply the pigment is the same, and those people can all print in a Tokyo style. So that wouldn't have been the issue. It's not the fact that they're from Kyoto and they can't print in the Edo style. That won't have been it. What time are we on now? A couple more minutes and then I can show you one of the test prints and show you some impressions I made during the production of that print. Misremembering perhaps, maybe it's just something he didn't like about it. Yeah, well, he's had problems with outside printers. What else did I have on my list to talk about? Oh, I am making a test this stream. I know we did a poll last stream, and I said that I'd listen to you all, and I will listen to you all, but I did also want to do a test. So today we're in the art category. Come in there. I am listening to you guys, and I will put it back. But just out of curiosity to see if it makes any difference at all, I did throw it over into art for this stream. Lost my space. I wasn't around for the poll last time, but I think it's fine to switch between categories from time to time. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't have to be locked into anything. I'm not sure what... Chicken Meister also streams here. I'm not sure what category you're in. You're in art, right? Or do you switch about? Where? Camera. Yeah, that's it. Just to see how things work. See if it makes a difference. I don't think I have the SSO set up. I can't do shout out for you. Maybe you could shout yourself out, Chicken Meister. That's really rude, isn't it? I'm in M&C usually, but I switch to art occasionally. I'm lazy, but okay. They're not huge categories. Either you could pull in some new viewers and saturate pretty quickly, so it might help to pull in new viewers. Either category is good. So I'm glad I'm not being lynched for not following the poll to the T. It's not shameless. I asked him to do it. It's fine. Just slash shout out, I think. Well, I also don't have a keyboard here. I got my phone. Let's see if I can do it. We're learning Twitch as we go. Ah, it works. Okay. I'm here. Did you miss me? Oh yeah, we've been crying all stream. We've been lamenting your absence. There's a shout out, Native. Cool. Thank you. I'm learning. You guys are helping me. I'm not super good at this, like all the things on Twitch that I'm able to do. For stream tags, it might be useful to add some Japan, Nihon, etc. Help with the algorithm. Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's actually switch over for a second. Let me put you on my face just for a second. Get rid of this. Hey. I'm going to switch the lens quickly. Seamless. Then we can swap across, back to the block. Zoom! Let's put this aside for a second. So I'm working on the video for this at the moment. And like we were saying, it's been a lot easier than the Nico project. The prints are now completed for anyone who wasn't here earlier and will shortly be on sale in Mokankan. This is not mine, you don't need to say whoa yet. This is just a colour printout. I have a couple of different versions of this. The one I used as my main base was from the Honolulu Art Museum, or Museum of Art. And I paid for that actually. We paid for this copy. A lot of the other museums, like if you ask the Boston, they'll just send you a digital copy. I had to put in a proper request for this. I think I paid about $50 just for a digital copy. And it's not as high resolution as I would have liked. But it's a damn sight better than anything else you can find on the internet. This is the second best, and like, I wouldn't have got a very high fidelity tracing off this. I would have got a fine tracing. But his line work is not that good, you know. Like, it's a little bit clunky with the brush. It's no Hokusai. But the image itself, the composition is cool. I think if we'd have got it out in spring for the cherry blossom season, this thing would have just disappeared almost instantly. We'll see how well this sells. But yeah, I have a test print here. Do bear in mind that this is not the final version. This is just one of the test prints. So it's something a little bit like this. There are areas that we changed, like the ground here. This is sort of a browny tone. There is more Baren Tsuji, and the Gomazuri is done a little bit better on the real version. What else? Yeah, there's small changes all over. What paper did you use? It's Iwanasan paper. Iwanasan paper. Is the lighting okay here? Yeah, so the order and stuff of the colour blocks I'll be explaining in the video, so just stay tuned for that. It'll be here in like a week or two. Where's the impression? So here is an impression of the key block. This is just the black lines, and there was a bunch of real bad issues with this wood. It was awful. I hate it. I never want to carve another piece of wood like this again. Before even starting, there was a bunch of places that I was going to have to do inlays regardless of how carefully I place it down. You'll see in the video that I'm changing the position on the registration by like 0.5 millimeters to try and like line everything up. In between these two lines here, maybe I can zoom in between these two lines here, I had to line up the block so a little wormhole in the wood wouldn't land through the lines. Another one somewhere, where is it? Over here, this whole section here had to be inlaid, and there was even one on the border that it was really, really close. And then after like carving it, there's a big difference between like carving really, really hard, beautiful wood and carving sort of hard, old, fibrous wood, which is what this block was. So it's not fun, and the wood issue has actually, for me, become sort of existential. It makes me sort of not enjoy this work so much. Like, I love carving, but when the wood is bad, it's just sort of a miserable experience. And I feel like all I've been carving is just terrible, fibrous, old junk. And so this is not my best carving work. You need good hard wood to carve smooth, beautiful lines. You'll see sometimes I'll be like carving and it'll have a little slip like that because there's a big difference in the density of the wood. And to carve smoothly, you need to be really loose. But to prevent those gut through bad wood, you kind of have to like lock up a little bit more, and you lose some of the flow, but it becomes more accurate. This is a block from here. This is an old Mokankan block. It was the last one in this size. It's not actually 100% the size of the original. It's like a 13% reduction, and we did that because we had blocks that fit that. Other blocks would have had to be made fresh if we wanted to do it at the original size. But that sort of helps us differentiate ourselves from the original. So this is not a forgery. We don't have the seals for Watanabe here in the corner, and also the actual entire size is like 13% smaller. We did sourcing news recently. There is some new wood on the way, but we don't know how the quality is yet. We won't know until we glue some down and do some tests. Sounds finicky, yeah. It was not so fun. But I think all in all, it's looking like a really nice print. I think it's an interesting print. The history to it is really interesting, and I've got a big section about the history, and I learnt a lot more about Charles Bartlett is the artist for this. This isn't the print you saw on Dave's stream. This is just a test print. This one is not as nice. The one Dave was showing you is probably a lot nicer. I'm excited to see it. One big thing that I don't talk about in the video that I did want to talk about here, maybe I should add a section, is the difference in the tone of the paper. And I did see that Dave talked about this very briefly. But basically, when we're printing this image, we need to think about the colours. Sorry, we've got an ad break coming in about 30 seconds. I'll just say this point quickly and then I'll pause for a little bit. All these colours that you see here that look so beautiful and homogeneous and like cohesive and delightful. I'll pause for the break. I'll come back and make this point again. 10 seconds. We have to imagine these colours with the yellow of the paper taken out of it. So this looks lovely and warm, but actually the original print would have looked quite significantly like colder than this, because throughout all these colours, the colour of the paper shows through these pigments because they're transparent inks. I have to say, it mystifies me that some young enterprising Japanese fellow isn't out there sourcing good quality wood, particularly considering that professional shops would be willing to pay a good damn price for great wood. Yeah, there's someone out there, we've just got to find them, who is the right person to do this. It's that the finding process it needs man hours to like go out and talk to people and like boots on the ground find people. Yeah, there are lost techniques in the production of woodblocks out there for sure. So yeah, all these colours here, they had to be imagined without a lot of the yellowing tone here, which is a real shame because I'll probably never see my prints look their best. After about 80 to 100 years, the prints just look so good. They look so good after they've aged. But if you artificially like add the yellow in here, by the time 100 years have gone past and these have aged more, they'll just look so messy and awful. So definitely this is the right approach, to imagine printing them as they were, but not overdoing it. The real important thing is not to overdo it and just like make colours too vivid. That's what Adachi does. I think they overdo it a bit. They take these colours, they imagine that they've been degraded by the UV and stuff, and so all the colours are a little bit more muted, which is true. But I think they take it a little bit too far and they put too much vivid colours in, and they punch it up too much a little bit sometimes. That was what they did in the whole sort of Showa. They were working with that ethos, which is like around the time I was born. All the prints made then, they use this really rich brown that's just awful. Prussian blue is super, super dense, and it just doesn't look very nice. Anyway, coming to a YouTube near you and a print shop near you very, very shortly. If you're interested, it will be up there soon. I had a lot of fun making this, and it was a lot easier than the previous print, the Nico print. But still fun, enjoyable. So I hope you guys like it. When I get the real print, it should be coming today actually. I should be getting a print today because I want to take it to Kamakura with me on the weekend. So hopefully that comes. Hopefully Dave can check them and send me one. Would it be of interest to take a raw photo with a fresh print with the color calibration type frame so many years later? Whoever, Matt, you could do that, and we're not doing it with the color calibration thing, but we are taking raw pictures, and sometimes like the ISO and stuff is, we don't modify the colors and stuff when we take the pictures, but we do like just get the camera settings better, so they do go into After Effects to just make sure everything's clear and consistent. But yeah, we do keep the raw files as well for all those. Couldn't disagree more. In the US, if you're willing to pay, you can source an incredibly fine materials, wood in particular. So all you have to do is visit any boutique furniture builder in any major city and they can see what can be done. I'm not willing to pay $1,000 for a large block, but someone like Dave wouldn't bat an eye. Okay, it's in response to a previous. Now, the issue is the quality of the wood. Like, it's not so much about sourcing the wood. We can get cherry. It's sourcing wood that like is in a difficult place to source, that if you weren't looking for this particular type of tree at this particular altitude that's had a long time to grow, the trees have to have grown really slowly, and so there's no way to really farm these trees. They have to be sourced in the wild. The slower it grew, the harder the timber lumber is from it. And so it's not so much the sourcing issue in that regard. It's more like the knowledge has been not necessarily completely lost, but it's definitely limited. People don't know as much as they used to about where to source the best trees from, what they're looking for. Like if you just see a tree, to be able to know like what's inside it. Some of that knowledge. And then there's also like the pre-treatment of it. They used to all be soaked in Tokyo Bay, and I'm not sure what the details behind stuff like that is, what the salt water is doing to the wood and stuff, but that was definitely a factor as well. Anyway, let's get back to this. What time are we on? Cool. Are we okay? Do we need to zoom in more? Should I change the lens again? What do you think? Looks good? Okay. Okay, we've not got so much longer. We'll just run like this for now. Remind me, we want to do a raid today. It's a little bit tricky to do a raid to... I can't really use the browse function on my phone. So it's only people that like I follow. So I've been going around trying to find people. Just like following a lot of people. We've had some a few misses in our raiding. Some deep talk about trees. I don't think I can really get involved with that. Have you ever raided Knopbush? Have you ever raided Knopbush? He does fantastic fantasy clay. Okay. Philip A, my man. Okay. Ah, okay, you know each other from that stream, I guess. He's been on Twitch for ages. Okay. If he's live now, and I can figure out how to search on the phone, we can try that. Thank you for your suggestion. My own camera. Yeah. He was the first art streamer to get partnered on Twitch. Well, he'd be a good raid target, although I think he usually ends around the time you end. We'll see. So he's streaming at the same time as he. I'm competing with the original art streamer. Cheers, Cotter. Take it easy. I need to reply to you. I'm so sorry. I've been busy. I will reply to you today. Moshikine. He streams during the day, takes breaks, and streams in the evening. What time are we on here? 16. The issue I'm having with finding people to raid is that, like, I find a really good stream that's like doing art, something I think you guys would be interested in. And then when it comes to actually raiding them, whenever it's time, I found someone who's usually streaming just at like the time I'm finishing, and they're usually doing art. And then I look at their channel just before the raid, and it's like they're playing a game, or they're doing something different from what I've seen. Like I found someone who was doing Duolingo in Japanese, and I thought you guys might enjoy that. They were sort of studying. And then I went back to their stream, and they were very personable, and it seemed like you guys might have fun. There's a bit of overlap there with like learning Japanese and stuff, which is something I'm gonna get back onto. I'll give you more updates on that later. Then I went back to their stream to like see like if it's usually that content, and I think that doesn't happen very often on their stream. It was sort of a one-off thing. Good morning, good evening. A person you might want to chat about slow growing hardwood is Chris Daunt in the UK. He's a wood engraver where the tradition is to carve on the end grain, but like Mokankan, the desire is for good, evenly grained hardwood. He deals with a lot of boxwood and lemonwood. Yeah. We use boxwood on occasion. The main wood we use for carving this is called Yamazakura, and it grows in Japan. I don't know if it grows anywhere else. I haven't thought about that. There's a lot of different species of sakura, and most of them are not good for what we use. I know there are people using American cherry, and that's really, really hard. But I think not as nice as Yamazakura. Thank you for your suggestion. I'll put him on my internet tab now. Chris Daunt. I'll look into it. Thank you for that. Yeah, Japanese cherry does have different properties. Your raids so far have been interesting at times. Yeah, there was one that like I really, really enjoyed this one stream. They were really nice. They were a nice person, and they were making some really, really good art. And I sent you guys in there, and it was just like, oh, this is not the vibe at all. This is completely wrong. But I only had one person in my potential raid things there, because like I said, it's kind of tricky to do raiding on the phone. I'm not sure how you sort of search or do the browse. Well, you can search. I can type in someone's name directly, but I don't remember every streamer's name off by heart. I just want to go in the browse section, but it's not really there on the phone. So I dropped you off, and I was like, oh god, no, what have I done? When I was there, it was really interesting. I was going to drop off at... Have you guys seen the... He's a Kiwi who carves like traditional Polynesian wood sculpture things. I think his name's like Brox or something. I was going to drop you there the other day, and he was playing a video game. So even people like actually in the makers and crafting things, they're often changing streams as well. So it's kind of tricky to find raid partners. Yeah, but the problem with doing it in like in the chat, typing /raid, I don't. What I want is to scroll through the people who are on, And I could do it on my computer over there, but it'd mean getting up and leaving you guys for a little bit to go find a. Yeah, Brox is a cool dude. Bruh? How do you say his name? Bruh. Bruh. Is that it? Bruh. I'm embarrassing myself. American cherry is really fibrous, yeah, and it's got all over little hardness, but it's always a bit fibrous. Yeah, it looks like it wouldn't be so much fun to push your ice skis through. Remembered when the New Zealand PM visited the stream? Cool. Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy. I went there before. We had, when I was working in a private school, private junior and senior high school, we had these international stay abroad programs, and the senior high students would all go to Canada. Some of them would go to America, but most of them would go to Canada and do homestays there. But the junior high school students in like these fancy English programs, they would go to Australia and New Zealand, but not for like full homestays. They'd go with like a teacher. They'd stay at someone's house, but there'd also be teachers there along with them. And we had some delegates, would you call them, people from the New Zealand school that we'd been associated with and sending our kids to. Some of them came over here. And like the New Zealand accent is just my favourite accent in the world. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. And I mentioned to them I'd been watching this guy called Braha. I did a little suri taiken with them, so we did a printing workshop in the school to show them a traditional Japanese craft. I didn't get paid extra for that. It was just part of my standard salary, which is a little bit wild, actually. I should have got paid for that. I shouldn't have agreed to do that because it was so much work to set up. But I started doing the accent. I was like, I've been watching this Kiwi guy. He's great. I'm not going to do it here. But I did it just like unconsciously because I've been listening to him and he's just like, you don't need to pay. You don't need to donate, whatever. But I was doing his accent. I was just like, maybe this is not so cool. Accents are fun, you know. Variety in the English accent is great. Of course, in the UK, we've got so many different dialects. So you're used to hearing everything said in a very different way. Constantly, so many different accents. And I don't think that's as common in other... Well, I guess in European languages, I couldn't tell the difference. But... in Japanese, it doesn't seem to be as pronounced as in the UK. Like, there's obviously stuff like Kansai Ben, which they speak in Osaka down there. But, like, to a non-native Japanese speaker, I can hear the difference a little bit, but it's not, like, jarringly different. In the UK, if you speak to a Scottish person versus like a South Walian, the difference is night and day. You almost need subtitles with some of them. I wonder if how it is in other European countries. How different the regional dialects are. In the UK, you can go 30 minutes down the road and encounter a new dialect, yeah. Probably the only place that rivals it is India. Interesting. So they got big variants there as well. When I was younger, I guess I had a bit more of a North Walian accent. My sister lived in Manchester for a while when she was younger, and she got a bit of a Manc accent. But she always used to take the mick of me when I was in like elementary school. There was one phrase she'd always say. It was like, "Stop it! You're hurting my muscles." And I don't think I ever had an accent that bad. Stop it! You're hurting my muscles. But I like kind of consciously drove that out of me. And now my accent is really confused. I also moved around a lot as a kid, so it wasn't really one area. I've moved like almost every year for my entire life. I've moved. One friend used to work in London in an office with people from all over. The people that everyone had the hardest time to understand were the two Scots. Scots is a great language. Two Scots had a hard time understanding each other because they're from different parts. Yeah, that's great. Do you speak any Welsh? Yeah, I did all my schooling in Welsh. In South Wales, the Welsh ability is not as high as in the north. In the north, I think it's like 70 or 80% of the people speak Welsh, and Welsh is the main language in school. And then you can also do English, so everything you get given in school is bilingual. You'll get 2 papers for everything. It's sort of like mandated to like protect the language, and I think it's worked because when I see posts from like my sisters and stuff now, they'll be posting stuff in Welsh, and you sort of just got to do that. Like the big mountain, which I'm not so far away, it's the second biggest in the UK, I guess, but it's the biggest in Wales. It's called it was called Snowdonia. It was called Snowdon, but the Welsh name for it is Yr Wyddfa. And things like that are now being like pushed back, and it's really a taboo to say Snowdon now. You don't say that. You say Yr Wyddfa, and English people say Yr Wyddfa because that's the name of the actual mountain, not this English name that's been imposed on it because, well, English people don't like to try. They just being involved with the local language is typically, raising your voice and pointing. Bore yma nes I fita Selsig a wyau am breakfast. There you go. I ate sausages and eggs for breakfast. My Welsh is terrible at the moment. I used to be good. I find myself, because I'm immersed in Japanese, and my bilingual thing used to be like I'd halfway speaking in English, halfway speaking in Welsh, like different people. You'll have like a friend group and there'll be 3 people in a circle. These 2 people talk Welsh to each other. These 2 people talk English to each other. And you're there and you have your preferences with each of these people. So it's just like half Welsh and half English, and sometimes mixed. And it just goes around like that. And so that sort of like bilingual part of my brain has now been infected by Japanese. So I'll often find myself saying Japanese words whenever I try and think in Welsh. He speaks Welsh with a Japanese accent. Oh, bore da. but North Walian, not the South Walian. Fa-la-la-la-la. We don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm a gog. I think we're coming to the end of the stream. This has been a fun one. It's been kind of chilled. I got to do a bit more in the sprint. One day it will be done. We'll get there. See, look at the chat. Been once for a short while. Great people, stunningly beautiful. Yeah. Mine and my partner's 2 top destinations. We really want to go to Norway, and we want to go to New Zealand. We want to do one of those as... We got married a long time ago, but we didn't have a big ceremony and we didn't have a honeymoon, really. We went to the UK just to visit my family, but that was sort of an obligatory thing. So one day we will take a honeymoon and we'll go to one of those places. We want to go to both of them. I was fluent in German when I was in college. Now I try to speak German and the sentence starts and ends with Japanese. Yeah, I know the feeling. Have you been to Canada? No, I'd really love to do... I really like the idea of the voyageurs. I want to do a canoeing journey in Canada. That's what I'd do. I'd love to go canoeing in Canada. Just go for like 2 weeks. I also want to do it on the Ardèche. That was a big dream. Grab a canoe, some tents, and just go do like singing some French voyageur songs. Couple of weeks, I think that'd be fun. See some moose. What's the plural of moose? Mice? Anyway, on that, I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you back on Tuesday. Video coming out soon. Keep an eye on... It was a joke. I know it's not mice. See you guys, everyone. Bye, bye, bye. Thank you. Over.
とてもサンキュー。